Well, hello. Today is Tuesday and it is a great day. This taping is primarily for me. I may share it and I may not. I don't know. But I am just thinking about how grateful I am to God. How grateful I am. How just when you think things have just fallen completely apart, how God steps in and just shows that he's with you all the way. I am so grateful and so appreciative to God. You don't know like I know what he's done for me. If we sit back and think about it, if each person sit back and really think about it, we spend a lot of times focusing on all the many different things that are wrong in our lives. But when we sit back and start really looking at the things that are right in our lives, we have a lot to be grateful for. We have so much to be grateful for. And I tell you, so many things we take for granted. I shared with someone just the other day how a lot of times we can live in an area and people pay dearly to travel to our cities, our states, our countries, wherever we may be. People pay dearly to travel and see the different things within those cities and states and countries that we take for granted. We often take it for granted. Today, I've just spent a lot of time reflecting on all that I do have. And it's just so amazing. It's just so awesome. Because when I began to count my blessings and to look at different things that I've taken for granted and look how God is moving, it's just amazing. He is just amazing. Don't take life, the people in your lives, anything, material possessions, jobs. Don't take these things for granted. Your children, your family, don't take them for granted. One thing that I've done, and I'll share it again, as I have often said, my life is an open book and I will share it. One thing that I've done is I have actually not given some people some credit that really deserve some credit. Many people that have done some very positive things in my life. And I realized yesterday that even though they were doing all these wonderful things, because of the fact that they were not doing them exactly the way I wanted them to be done, in the format as I wanted them to be done, the people were still doing a lot of things for me. I don't take that for granted. I am appreciative. I often go back and tell people thank you. It's a very humbling experience, though, to realize that we focus sometimes so much, we focus sometimes so much on what a person is not doing. When we shift and start to look at what we really like about a person, what they're really doing, what lessons are they teaching us, look at the good instead of looking at the bad, and then things begin to change. They just begin to change, and it's freedom in a sense because you are, in essence, freeing up that person to be who they are. And of course, I go back and say this: God loves each and every one of us just where we are, but He loves us enough to not allow us to stay where we are because He wants us to grow. And as we grow, He wants us to teach, educate, empower other people. That's what He wants us to do and to assist other people. However, He loves us just where we are, just the way we are. And when we say we love people, hmm, let's think about the way God loves. Let's think about the way God loves. Let's look at people not to be critical, judgmental, to keep records of wrongs that they've done to us or to anyone else, someone we know. Let's look at them in a different way. Let's look at the good in people. And in doing so, and let's emphasize the good, bring out the good. Let's be more compassionate. We do know where we've been, we don't know where we're going. That child that you have now, that child that's a straight A student, that's an honor student, could one day end up being in jail for murder, or could end up being strung out on drugs, or could end up being pregnant as a teenager, or can make mistakes in life. We all make mistakes in life. We have to be more forgiving of people. That child that is that wayward child that is rebellious and has just gone completely against the teachings that the things that they were taught, that one may grow up to be the next president of the United States. I laugh, but we never know. What's my point in all of this? Let's really begin to treat people like we want to be treated. I realized over the years, and this is not just something new that's taken place in my life, but I realized over the years that I have been somewhat critical of people who have been just like me. I've grown some, not to say that I've arrived, because I am definitely far from perfect, but I have been critical of people who have been just like me. They've done some of the same things that I've done. And it's easy to justify when it's us, but it's hard, or it's really not that hard. When we look at others, we tend to look at them and be more critical, for lack of a better word right now, critical. What am I saying to you today? What's my message today? Don't take for granted anything. Life, health, strength, family, friends, even your enemies. Don't take it for granted just because you're living in this beautiful mansion today, driving these expensive cars. You have money in the bank, and you have all of these material things into the outside world. It looks like you really got it going on. Don't take it for granted, because it can happen today. You can have it today, and today it can all be gone. Don't take for granted the little apartment that you're living in, or the not so new car that you're driving, or the used clothing that you may have, or used furniture. Don't take that for granted, because there's someone somewhere praying for just what you have. Don't take it for granted. Things can be here today and gone today. I came on today thinking that maybe I'll just do this for me, but after being on here for a minute, I think I'm going to go ahead and share it. And I didn't put any makeup on purposely, because it is what it is. And again, I encourage you, as I said in an earlier broadcast, don't look at what you think you see. Looks can be deceiving. Never judge a book by its cover. Never look at a person by their appearance. There are a lot of people who perpetrate. There are people who have all of these material things. There are people, and they're miserable. There are people who have all of these things, and I'll call them the Joneses. You know how people tend to say, I'm keeping up with the Joneses, or don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Well, let me just share this with you. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Don't try to keep up with anybody. Just do you. Be you. Be you. Do you. A lot of times the Joneses are broken. They're perpetrating. Conversely, there are people who look like they have nothing. And those people may be loaded with money. So you can't look at a person, whether they're dressed to the nines or whether they're dressed shabbily. You cannot look at a person and see or know who that person is. Be careful how you entertain strangers, because you may be among angels unaware. Looks can be so deceiving. Treat people like you want to be treated. Love people, respect people. Know that everybody is at different stages of growth. Be just as forgiving with other people as you would want them to be with you. That's God's way. That's God's way. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. That's God's way. So I encourage you today, this week, whenever you're watching this, just take a look at your life. Take a look at some things that's possibly held you back from being the best you that you can be. Are you concerned with the opinions of others? Are you focused on being who God said you are to be? Are you overly concerned with money or your children, even your family? Don't make anything your God, but be appreciative for everything that you have, knowing that whatever you have today can be gone today. Love people. Love people. We know that we are here today and we're all only here for a short while. Love people. Be real. Be you. Do you. I tell people all the time, those within my circle, my inner circle, as well as others that I meet, I am not perfect. I don't even profess to be. I have so many flaws that it's just, it seems like I've come a long way, but I've got a long way to go. I'm not trying to impress. I'm not trying to do anything but be a better person today than I was yesterday or last week or the week before. I am trying, living my life to hear at the end of my life, well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Now come on up a little higher. I'm going to make you ruler over much. Rest, my darling, rest. That's what I want to hear from God. And if we live with the end in mind, we can do some great things. When you start with a vision and you have a vision of graduating from school, a vision of getting married, a vision of losing weight, a vision of starting a job, a vision of purchasing a home or a car, or a vision of becoming a senator or a public official. When you start with that vision in your mind, you're beginning with the end in mind. And that's what Stephen Covey says in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about in that book, begin with the end in mind. So you're beginning with the end in mind. You're thinking about, you're at one place, but you're thinking about where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Stephen Covey talks about it in the book, and as it relates to planning your funeral and writing your obituary. And what do you want people to say about you when your eyes close for the last time? I encourage you to take his advice and look at your life. You can live life so much better. You can be free. You can be free to do you. You can take the mask off. Just be free. You can be free to love people. You can be free to forgive yourself when you fall down and have to get back up many, many times. You can be free to just let your hair down and just do you. You can be free. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. Get free, people. Love people. Don't take anything or anyone for granted. We're not doormats to be walked on. No, we're not that. We're door openers for others. And while you're opening that door or those doors for many other people, remember that you're doing this for God's glory. And remember this. Don't take anything or anyone for granted. Don't do it. Don't do it. Live each day as if it's your last day, because no one knows the day or the hour that we're going to leave here. So live each day as if it's your last day. I close in saying this with what I started off saying, or somewhere at the beginning of this message. I didn't think that I would share this message, but I am going to share it because I started thinking originally it was for me, but maybe it's for some of you. Maybe it's for some of you. Be you, do you, do you. Don't take people for granted. Love, I'm repeating myself. I'm repeating myself, and I know I am. But some things just bears repeating over and over and over again. And I know you've heard this from other people as well. But sometimes it's just hearing it again, that one time. So if any of you have any questions or doubts as to who you are, who you can be, what you should do, I referred you before to my book, To God Be the Glory, From Brokenness to Wholeness. And yes, I mentioned my upcoming book, To God Be the Glory, The Manifested Glory of God. But I'm going to refer you to a book that's more important than those two or any other book you can get. And that's the Bible. If you read it on a regular basis, I guarantee you your life will change. Your life will change. And a lot of things that you thought once were so important, you realize they're not that important. They're not. Loving people, forgiving people, being the best you that you can be, not taking anything for granted. That's what's most important. I'll again, well, I'm closing the second time and final time. I'll say this: for years, from the time I first started work up until 1999, when I left my job with Social Security. After having worked for many years, I did go back then shortly afterwards, but I left for about 4 years. I wore heels and suits on a regular basis, on a daily basis. I loved them. I love them. You would never have seen me come online with no makeup or any of that. And anyone who knows me knows this to be true. That was not me. God literally took me out of the heels and the suits and allowed me to go in the fields. And that was the best thing that could have happened for me. And I do recall one of my girlfriends said to me during that time when I put on jeans and I had on jeans and sneakers, and she said, "It doesn't look like you. It doesn't look like you." Well, I still wear my suits and my heels and I love them. And I still wear my makeup and I love them. I still, even with all the different things that's taking place in my life, still like to dance, still like to have a good time, still like to laugh. And there's a time for everything. I don't take myself seriously now. I take life seriously and the word seriously. I understand, though, that I'm a work in progress, and so are you. So don't beat yourself up. If you've been unforgiving, if you've taken someone for granted, if you have tried to keep up with the Joneses and all these other people, or anything that you've done that you, due to the mask, wearing of the mask, take it off. Take it off. Don't take anyone, anything for granted. Love God, love people in a balanced way, love yourself first, and then just go about and enjoy life. I'm having the best time of my life. This is going to be the best day of my life. You all be blessed.